Reagan was in the wedding, okay, sure, because Sandra's daughter, and other kids were in the wedding too. Yeah, they had all these girls as bridesmaids. That was great. Okay, fine. No problem between Reagan and Tanya, the wedding. No problem with the wedding before that. No problem before that. No problem before that. But Aiden had a birthday after the wedding in 2007 that Sandra and Greg threw for Tanya. Aiden had a birthday party. And Reagan, who's 2.5 years older than Aiden, was invited with her friend Hallie Wilson, Sherry Wilson's daughter. And they played with the older kids. They played with Cole, the older brother, and his buddy. They played. But all the little girls got all made up by the friends, makeup and hair and sparkles. It's really cute. And they got a limo, and they went to this party. It was excellent. But Reagan, it was a sleepover. One of the few Tanya ever had. And the facts will show that Reagan and Hallie, the older girl, said, "Oh, this is a baby party. We don't want to stay." And Miss Tanya said, "Hey, that's not very nice. I mean, you were invited to come to the birthday party." And the facts will show the little girls got ticked off. And they called Sandra Lamb. And kaboom! Like a steel trap, one day you're up, the next day you're down, you're dirt, no way. Never coming over again. As of January 2008, Tanya was dirt. Tanya was forget about it with Sandra Lamb. So when Sandra Lamb is grilling, questioning, repeatedly, going over and over and over and over, tell me what Miss Tanya did. Miss Tanya did something. Tell me what Miss Tanya did. And she told this detective that she did it. And she told this detective she was OCD. And she told him she grilled the kid. And she told him that she bribed the kid. Oh, you didn't hear that, did you? Well, so they quick take Reagan down for an interview. What does Reagan say? What's Reagan say? Sandra has previously, Sandra has called DFACS and said, well, I think there's child-on-child funny business going on between my daughter and whatever. All before this writing the chalk thing, Sandra's already turned little Aiden in. So they take Reagan down to the interview place. And the interviewer, on May 27th, part 1, and they talked to her about what's been going on. Got it word for word. Anything about Miss Tanya doing anything? No. Was she scared? Oh, please. La 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 la, coloring, having a nice time. The child wasn't scared. You'll have to decide for yourself. You'll look at the interview. You'll see the interview. Having a la 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 wonderful time. What about it? Nothing. Nothing about Miss Tanya. Interviewer goes out, comes back and says, say, wasn't there something about a bath? Reagan goes, oh yeah. Miss Tanya did this and Miss Tanya did that. So then, the rest of the story is, not enough to get an indictment, not enough. So what do the cops do? They got to go searching for another victim, quote unquote. Okay, they bring in Kylie Walker. In comes in little Kylie Walker. You'll meet her. I'm bringing her. In comes little Kylie Walker. She says, oh yeah, me and Aiden, we touch each other and da 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 da. Now, the facts will show. We're bringing you two professors of pediatrics from one of the best universities, you guys, Emory for goodness sakes, who will tell you, hey, wait a minute. We may think, I'm an old guy, we may think, hey, little girls don't do that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And 50 years worth of research on, is that way outside the normal range or not? You know, you'll hear that testimony. We got boxes of science. Well, what's Kylie Walker say? Well, Miss Tanya this? No. Miss Tanya that? No. Miss Tanya this? No. Miss Tanya that? No. No, 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 no. Can't get it. Ugh. And what happens with Sandra Lamb when she finds out from her friend, Detective Keith, that's who she calls him, that Kylie Walker's not going to say anything about Tanya? Nothing happened. Oh, gotta get another one. Who can we get? Who can we get? Aha! Emma McDonald. Well, how did that happen? You will find out because we've got the evidence to show you, and you'll make your mind up about it. How did they get to Emma McDonald? Well, Sandra says, Miss Sandra Lamb says, we don't want anything to do with Kelly McDonald and her daughter Emma because she's a loose cannon. But when they can't get Kylie Walker to say something, they go looking for somebody, and who do they get? Bingo, Emma. And what's Emma do? She's on script. But Kelly McDonald is a loose cannon, according to Sandra Lamb, so they're worried about this. So Sandra calls Kim Walker, Kylie's mom, and threatens her. The cops call her and threaten her. You better get your kid back down here. We're going to interview that kid again. With no control for parental influences, no control for rumor formation, no control for repeated questioning effects, no control for modifications. Was it outside your clothes or inside your clothes? It was outside. Well, okay. Was she nice to you? Yeah, she was nice to me. Well, a minute ago you said it was inside your clothes. Tell me how it felt when it was inside your clothes. That's a modification. She didn't say that. It's backwards. You said that. Well, I was inside my clothes. I don't know. No control for modifications. No control for suggesting things to children. My goodness. We're bringing you the premier interviewer for the state of Georgia, who testified for the prosecution hundreds and hundreds of times. She's a nurse, she's a PhD, she's a professor, and she says, wait a minute. She will tell you, I teach this subject. I've done this for decades. These interviews stink. Well, okay. Okay, so, get Emmett McDonald's on task. And so, what do? The evidence will show the rest of the story. They take Aiden and Cole away. And before they take them away, just as they're taking them away, Tanya's crying, of course. It's terrible, but she tries to make it okay. She has her dad come and take her for the ice cream, and then a little while later, just a little while later, she gets a phone call from her little daughter, Aiden. I love you, Mommy, but I'm not going to see you for a very long time. What? Now, to give you a sense of how ridiculous this is, let me tell you more of the rest of the story. You see, when the detectives, I wish they would have told you this, showed up and talked to Miss Hecky, Miss Kraft, Miss Tanya at her house in May, and she said, oh, it's been taken care of. Yeah, it had been. What was it that had been taken care of? Well, Oh yeah. What they didn't tell you. Miss Tanya was teaching Emma McDonald's older brother in kindergarten. So she was making a home visit. And her little daughter was playing with little Emma in 2006. And her son Cole is the same age. He's in a different kindergarten class as Chandler McDonald. But they're visiting, and she's talking with Kelly. Okay, 2006. And what happens? Wham! Wham! She hears screaming. I told you not to do that. She goes running into the back room, and the evidence will show there she is. She shows up. There's Aiden, petrified, and Kelly holding Emma by her left upper arm with her arm and smacking her and screaming at her. I told you not to do this. What are you doing? Tanya, what happened? We're leaving. Grabs Aiden and takes off. Aiden is, and when she calms her down, she says, what happened? Well, Emma, she was touching me, and she said it took me and Hugh touch. Kelly calls Miss Tanya on the telephone and says, hey, the children, I walked in and Emma's finger was inside Aiden. Holy Toledo, what is pedophile, evil child sexual abuser Miss Tanya do? She goes immediately to the physician and says, oh my God, what happened? Please check my daughter. Leaves the room and asks pediatric diagnostic to examine her daughter. They know this. Gee, they didn't tell you. Aiden's fine. Whew. Okay. But the moms are talking, and somehow the evidence will show Emma's done this before with other children. Fast forward, 2008. Detectives show up. Miss Tanya, she's got a knack for picking guys. I don't know what happens. I don't know. You get all this education. She had a very bitter divorce, the evidence will show, with Mr. Hankey. The evidence will show that there is serious pathology in Mr. Hankey and his family. Very serious pathology. It's a bitter divorce. And Aiden, little Aiden, when she had to go visit after Sarah, oh yeah, Joel married Sarah. Sarah was Miss Tanya's student in Sunday school. Joel, that's who Joel picks to marry. Anyway, Joel and his family are so difficult. Aiden, when she has to go, has chronic, routine diarrhea. Tanya asks pediatric diagnostic what to do about it. And what does Tanya do about it? When any of us get chronic repeated diarrhea, boy, you gotta wipe so often, sometimes, Holy Toledo Charmin's not good enough. Well, she gets diaper rash. What's the big deal? I've changed a lot of diapers, so have you. So, what does Tanya do? She puts medicine on Aiden. Now remember, she's just been to pediatric diagnostic in 2006. Repeatedly goes back there with Aiden for well-child visits, and then she has chronic diarrhea. Aiden says to Tanya that Sarah, the young girl that Joel married, is showering with her. Tanya goes, okay. Aiden, who's having this chronic upset stomach, says, Sarah's showering with me, and Daddy's in there too. Tanya goes, oh. And remembers the pathology that you will hear about and that the evidence will bring you about Joel and his family, and she says, oh my goodness, well honey, okay, and tries to figure out what to do about it. And Aiden says, no, she teaches me how to shave, and she's shaving her pubic hair. Now Aiden is do her eyes fall when she's in the shower with an adult woman? And how do you shave? You gotta pull the skin tight. Tanya says, oh my God, and she calls her friend the sheriff. Oh my goodness, didn't tell you that, did they? And she says, I think my daughter's been abused. What do I do? And she makes an appointment. The deputy that handles this calls her right back. She'll come and testify. She's a doctor. And they set up a forensic interview for Aiden. And it was scheduled to happen right after the Memorial Day weekend in 2008. So when Theo shows up, and she says, oh, it's been taken care of, she'd already set a forensic interview up with Aiden. Oh, wait a minute. They didn't tell you that part. So they take Aiden down for an interview after she calls and says, Mommy, I won't be seeing you for a very long time. And what does she say? Yeah, boyfriend, girlfriend, yeah. And Mommy put medicine on me. Mommy put medicine on me because I was sore. And despite all the attempts with repeated questions, suggested questions, leading questions, modifying what she said, she just put medicine on me. And when she got hammered and hammered and hammered by this interviewer, oh, wait a minute. Was the interviewer investigating an alternative hypothesis, another idea, like what could be going on here? Nope, just trying to get the goods. So, what did little Aiden say? She asked her to stop questioning her like that. No, it's just medicine. No, nothing happened. No, leave me alone. And then she got badgered, and she started to cry. And she had told the interviewer that her daddy, the guy that the evidence will show has serious pathology, that this guy had been badgering her and badgering her and badgering her to say stuff about Miss Tanya and touching. Oh, wait a minute, no control for parental influences before you come in the interview? The evidence will clearly show, what they didn't tell you, that Aiden didn't say anything about her mom. However, the evidence will also show that she went from, Mommy, I love you, and I'm not going to see you for a very long time. The evidence will clearly show you to, as soon as she got into the clutches of into the custody of the dad, and with the therapist that the cops put her with, it got worse and worse and worse. No contact with mom, none. Kept away from mom for 2 years. Worse, I don't like mommy. Months later, mommy's mean to me. Months later, mommy did this wrong. Months later, I don't want to see mommy. Months later, mommy was terrible to me. Months later, I hate mommy. Months later, I never want to see mommy again. How could that have been about mommy? She didn't have any contact with mommy. So, the evidence will show that the do-over, the idea, the rationale that's used to sort of cover that up is to say, well, they were scared and they had to be in therapy for a while, and they had to trust us so they could tell the stories. And if that was true, why would decades of scientific research? The evidence will show, and we are going to bring in a professor of child and adolescent psychiatry from Vanderbilt who wrote the guidelines, and he will tell you, he's been doing this for 30 years, He wrote the guidelines. He's published gigantic amounts of research on these very issues. And the expert will come in and he will tell you that when you do not control for parental influences, when you do not control for repeated questioning effects, when you do not control for rumor mills, you get very badly skewed and emotionally abused children. The evidence will show Professor Emory, Professor Emory, Professor Vanderbilt, who are the best people we could possibly find to break this down, to really look at what happened. Oh, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. What about this? And they had physical examinations. Well, the evidence will show that when you want to determine whether what you are seeing in a little girl or a little boy's body is abuse, that you go from levels of certainty to levels of, I don't know, to levels of, I don't think so. And professor from Emory, from the Department of Pediatrics, who teaches the subject of how to do these. And boy, we want them done right. That's our job. We want this done right. The defense will show you that what those exams actually show when compared to 10,000 little girls is normal. It's not indicative of sexual abuse. The evidence will show it's not indicative of sexual abuse any more than a bump on your head is indicative of a car wreck. When one really looks at the rest of the story, one discovers that the normal range of behavior, researchers have looked at that for decades. What little girls and little boys' genitals look like when they've been abused and when they haven't been abused. Because if we want to tell if it's been abused, we got to compare it to normals and see how different it is. That these exact same examinations were scrutinized by the professor, and she says, no, they know that. The evidence will show they didn't tell you. Okay? So, you were told in opening statement about how the children became more and more comfortable. But the rest of the story is that when they were asked, was there anything else? She was a reckless driver. Okay. Anything else? She said my eye color wasn't nice. Okay. Anything else? She listened to loud music. Anything else? Yeah, she wouldn't feed me at all. Anything else? Yeah, she threw me down the stairs. Anything else? Yeah, she locked me in the room and wouldn't let me watch television. Okay. Well, they're going to ask for a lot of do-overs. Because you see, when you really look at what was going on, you discover that, as the evidence will show in this case, that there were numerous children in and out of that home because Cole's playing baseball. Aiden's going to gymnastics. In and out, in and out, in and out. Miss Tanya was working on her master's degree. She needed help. Miss Tanya moved to the community, and became best friends with a wonderful family. And her kids, the kids in that family, stayed, they were older, but they stayed with Miss Tanya every day. Every day. They came home from school and they stayed with Miss Tanya, and she made snacks, and the kids all played, and she cleaned up and got her lessons plan ready for the next day, and then their mom came over, or their dad came over, every day. Well, wait. The evidence will show that the police didn't talk to these children. Well, if you're going to listen to the children, let's listen to all of them. Now, these kids are there every day. Their parents are in the home every day. How many times was Reagan Lamb actually there? Well, we know one occasion, because the 11-year-old boy who was sweet on her back then and kind of ticked off Cole, the older brother who he came to play with and stay overnight with, he wanted to pay attention to Reagan, and Cole didn't like it because he wouldn't play with him. That was one night that Reagan was there. Nobody can remember another, but Braden was there, and he'll tell you he was there, and this is silly. These other kids that were there were 14 of them over these years. Drew will come. The parents will come. If you're going to listen to the kids, listen to all of them. Because Cole, the older brother, had playmates over after school. And it was helpful for Tanya, quite frankly, because after a day full of kindergartners, wanted to cool out a little bit, if her kids could be occupied with other kids to play, she could get some breathing room, because they'd all run around or play with the TV or the games or jump on the trampoline. They didn't tell you that they didn't interview these children. They didn't. We're bringing them. We're bringing them. The evidence will show. Evidence will show that during the time that this is alleged to have happened, there were 14 other kids over there, a lot. Thank goodness it helped. It helped Miss Tanya. It helped the kids. The evidence will show that, contrary to what little piece of the picture you're shown by the state, that the defense wants you to see the whole picture. Part of the whole picture, other than the fact that the sane nurse and the videos and such do not tell the story of abuse, but rather of mistakes, maybe incompetency, but certainly not abuse. That doesn't matter. What matters is it didn't happen. It couldn't have happened the way they say. It doesn't make sense. What the evidence will show is that when they were doing these interviews, Shanika Lewis, Kim Walker said, hey, get this crazy woman Sandra Lamb out of my life, and this didn't happen, I'm telling you, and stop threatening me. She'll tell you. Shanika Lewis will come in and she'll say, hey, I said, look, let me come down and help. I've got plenty of information and evidence that this stuff is a bunch of bunk. Oh, no. The evidence will show that they told her, oh, no, don't come down. Other kids, parents called up and said, hey, this is ridiculous. What are you doing? No, we don't need you. Thank you. Don't bother us anymore. The evidence will show that when these parents tried to tell the Catoosa County folks that this was silly, not true, that they were actually there, they didn't want to hear it. Okay, you're going to hear it. Please listen. all of the information? Because it didn't happen. It didn't happen in any way that they suggest. It couldn't have. And it doesn't make sense. The evidence will show very clearly, when you see it all, that the therapist, quote unquote, that they put these kids with before they were able to get Cole and Aiden away from her, but the therapist has some serious issues. The bottom line, as we were told earlier, is the truth. The bottom line is the truth. In every case like this, every juror says, well, if it didn't happen, why would they say it? And every defendant is in the horrible position of having to climb that mountain and make explanations about, if it didn't happen, why would they say it? If it didn't happen, why would they say it? That's backwards. She's not guilty until proven on every piece of every element of the crime that you believe that she's guilty, that she's innocent until then. So I don't know why they did this. The parents, the children, the professors, they'll give you their ideas, but it's you that can only take those tools that you need and make the decision that you've got to make. So what will you hear about Miss Tanya? Who is Miss Tanya? Who is Miss Tanya? What will the evidence show about who she is really? Well, I told you she went through a bitter divorce. After that, she went to the University of Tennessee while teaching 4 nights a week to get her master's degree. More than a decade of teaching kids, honors, accolades, taking her kids to baseball 3-4 times a week and on the weekends. Went through that whole process with Emma McDonald and took her daughter immediately to the physician to be examined. Became very close friends with Mike and Dee Potter. Oh yes, police didn't talk to them. They'll talk to you. Mike and Dee Potter's children, Emily and Chris, were there all the time. They'll talk to you. Police didn't talk to them. The evidence will show that after Miss Tanya finished her master's degree, she went on a mission to Cambodia. Came back, she's got her daughter in gymnastics. She's got the kids that she's responsible for in her schoolroom. She's got the kids that she keeps after school for her friends. She's involved in gymnastics for Aiden, baseball for Cole, her teaching, taking care of kids after school who are there every day. There are a number of kids that come over and play with Aiden, and a number of kids that come over and play with Cole, and nothing like this has happened. It couldn't have happened the way they say it did. It doesn't make sense. So, Tanya meets David, they get married. The stress of these allegations is so overwhelming, they break up. David gets into the Sandra Lamb orbit. Everything goes to heck. Somehow, thanks be to God, they pull it back together. You'll hear from David. Oh yeah, David was there. So, how do you defend yourself? How do you defend yourself from allegations like this? That this happened in 2006, 2005, and 2004. Oh my goodness, how do you get the information to defend yourself when you know the allegations are so horrible that you're toast before you even get into court? You have to go back and try to find things. So we're going to bring you, and the evidence will show, pictures. Pictures of what was going on. I wasn't there, you weren't there. Pictures of what was going on. People who were there. People that were actually there all the time, who know Miss Tanya, and know that this is the product of parents who went off the deep end. Maybe they were angry at Tanya, maybe I don't know what happened, but the kids were questioned over and over and over again. And so we will bring you the children that were there. All of the children that we can get here. They're not too young or too scared to come to court. We will bring you the parents who were there all the time. We will bring you the parents who were threatened. We will bring you the parents who were told, oh, no, don't bother to show up. We don't need you. We don't want to hear that. We will bring you the children that were there. We will bring you not the people that depend for a living on finding child abuse, the people who teach how you do it properly. Because in the final analysis, what we want is to spend our resources on getting the bad guys, not divert them into witch hunts or hysteria. Get the people that did this. Because every time we spend our resources like this, we don't have them to spend on little kids that are really abused. So, this is why it's the rest of the story that is so critically important. It didn't happen. It couldn't have happened the way they say it did. It doesn't make